Mr. District Attorney, champion of the people, defender of truth, guardian of our fundamental rights to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
And it shall be my duty as District Attorney not only to prosecute to the limit of the law all persons accused of crimes perpetrated within this county, but to defend with equal vigor the rights and privileges of all its citizens.
As our case opens tonight, your district attorney and Harrington are seated at a council table in a hot, stuffy courtroom. They've been impatiently awaiting the return of a jury who have spent many hours deliberating a verdict. Word has come that this verdict has been reached. Spectators have filed into the room. The judge has returned to the bench. Finally, a side door is opened, and the jury returns. Silently, they enter the jury box. An air of tense excitement grips the court as the clerk calls upon the foreman of the jury to rise. In droning tones, he asks, "How say you? Do you find this defendant guilty or not guilty?"
We, the jury, find him not guilty.
Oh, Chief, did you hear that?
Yes, I heard it.
Oh, what a swindle.
I don't understand it.
Why, a bunch of 10-year-old kids that know Stanley committed that murder.
I thought we had everything we needed on this one. But evidently there was a reasonable doubt in the minds of the jurors.
A reasonable doubt. Oh, look at Stanley grinning all over the place.
He should be. He'll never be as lucky again.
Oh, look at... Hey, he's coming over here.
Yes.
Hiya, Mr. D.A.
Hello, Stanley.
Ain't you going to congratulate me?
For what?
For winning the Duke.
You still done that killing, Stanley?
Ain't how the jury call it. That's what they pay off on. See you later, boys.
Oh, brother, how could they let that punk off?
I don't know. One thing is certain, though.
What's that, Chief?
This merely postpones Mr. Stanley's engagement with the chair.
How come?
He's a professional killer and will continue to be one. The next time we pick him up, we'll make it stick.
Oh, Chief.
Yes, Harrington.
Did you see the morning papers?
You mean the account of the trial?
Yeah, they certainly blasted that verdict yesterday.
Yes, I know.
They took particular pains, though, to point out that it wasn't your fault.
Well, unfortunately, that isn't much consolation.
No.
Excuse me, Chief.
Yes, Miss Miller?
There's a Mrs. Clark in the outer office.
Yes?
She was one of the jurors on the Stanley case.
Oh, she want to see me?
Yes, sir.
You know, what about?
Well, I don't know. She said it's important.
All right, have her come here.
Yes, sir.
Wonder what this is, Chief.
No, no.
You remember Mrs. Clark?
Oh, yes, of course. How do you do, Miss Clark? This is Mr. Harrington.
How do you do, Mrs. Clark?
Sit down, won't you?
Very well.
Now, what can I do for you?
Well, I have something to tell you. It has to do with the trial.
Yes?
I feel that there's something very suspicious about the verdict. That's why I came here.
Yeah, you better get your pad and pencil, Miss Miller.
I have it right here. I'll take this down, Chief.
Thank you. Just what are your suspicions, Mrs. Clark?
Well, in the beginning, most of us believed that Stanley was guilty of the murder. But there was one man especially who insisted he wasn't. And, well, he had a lot to say about it.
Yeah, who was that?
Mr. Taylor, he was the foreman.
Yes, I remember him.
He insisted that Stanley was innocent.
And what did he base this on?
Well, he never would give a reason. Just kept saying he knew he wasn't guilty.
Well, how did he get everyone else to come around to his way of thinking?
Well, the first change came when we were taken out to lunch the second day. This Mr. Taylor sat with two other men on the jury. And when we returned, Well, they had changed their vote to not guilty.
They give any reason for this change?
No. These two men were more or less leaders. Their changeover gradually influenced most of the others, and finally by the third day, another juror and myself were the only two who were for conviction.
Well, what made you both switch?
Well, at dinner time, this Mr. Taylor sat with the man who was siding with me.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever went on there made him change his mind.
So after dinner, you were the lone holder?
Yes.
And then you finally just gave up?
Oh, no.
No?
Well, I mean, I was prepared to stand my ground to the finish when I received a message from an attendant. It was about my son. It said he was coming home on the final furlough before going overseas, and he'd only be in town overnight.
And, of course, you wanted to see him.
Yes. And besides, by this time, all the others agreed he wasn't guilty, so I voted with them.
Well, I can understand that.
But the message wasn't true, sir.
What do you mean?
My son called me this morning from camp. He knew nothing about it.
Hey.
That's really what convinced me I should come here.
Well, I'm certainly glad you did, Miss Clark.
Do you think that Taylor guy had anything to do with the phony message?
I don't know.
Well, I think we should try to find out. I'd like to have a talk with this man, Taylor. Find out where he can be located, Harrington, and bring him in for questioning.
Hiya, Mr. Butler.
Well, hello, Stanley. Wondering what happened here.
Well, I kind of did a little celebrating last night.
I sort of figured you would. I'm back to the office.
Okay.
You hungover?
Yeah, a little bit. I have to fix that. Well.
Go ahead.
Thanks.
Sit down, kid.
Okay.
What'd it be? Scotch or rye?
Well, a shot of rye would do good.
Right.
I want to thank you, Mr. Butler.
For what?
For the fix.
The verdict?
Yeah.
Well, you killed a guy for me. The least I could do was rig a jury for you. Drink up.
Thanks.
That should ease the pain.
How did you ever do it?
What?
Swing them jury guys. The way that DA piled up points on me, I figured I was cold.
I told you I'd take care of things, didn't I?
Sure, but even the mouthpiece said I didn't have a chance.
He just didn't know the score, that's all.
What was it again?
I owned the foreman.
The little fat guy?
Yeah.
How come?
Well, he was in a pocket, needed dough. I just took care of him.
What about the others?
Well, I used a kind of a smart maneuver there.
How do you mean?
Most people, somewhere in the past, have got something they'd rather not have brought up again.
Yeah.
So I had a checkmate on a jury, dug up enough on 3 of them to turn a little heat on it.
Well, how did you get to them?
Well, it seems that there's a waiter in the joint the jury ate in who happened to be a friend of mine. Guy I'd kind of done favors for.
Oh.
I sent a note to him with the foreman giving him a rundown on these 3 guys on the jury, so he went to work on them.
You really operate, Mr. Butler.
That's my business. Anything can be fixed, kid. You just gotta know how, that's all.
Well, you've done a swell job. And just to show you I mean that, the next killing you want done is on me.
Right in here, Mr. Taylor. All right. Chief, you remembered this fellow?
Yes, of course. Hello, Mr. Taylor.
How do you do? He wasn't too happy about coming over here, Chief. Naturally. I've neglected my business enough serving on that jury.
Well, I'm sorry, but this is quite important. Sit down, please.
Very well.
Harrington, did you explain to Mr. Taylor why I wanted to see him?
No, Chief. I thought you could do that better than me.
All right.
Just what is this all about?
It has to do with the verdict reached by you and your fellow jurors yesterday.
Yes?
We have a report from a woman named Clark. She served with you.
What about?
She seemed convinced that several of the jurors were pressured into changing their views on the case.
Well, that's ridiculous. Why, that woman...
Why, Mr. Taylor, why don't you wait till you hear the whole thing?
Very well. Go ahead.
She also believed that you were the one who exerted this pressure.
Why, this is fantastic.
She named 3 specific jurors who were influenced. We're trying to contact these men now to substantiate her story.
Well, I must tell you right now, sir, this is the most libelous thing I have ever encountered.
You deny the charge?
Completely.
Look, Mr. Taylor...
Just a minute. I think I see behind this whole thing now.
What do you mean?
Wouldn't it be possible that having lost the case, you are now looking for some excuse to justify it?
Oh, hardly.
Well, it certainly appears that way.
Now, just a minute.
Oh, wait, Harrington.
Yeah.
I called you in here, Mr. Taylor, to acquaint you with the charge that's been made. Frankly, I intend to investigate it thoroughly. So I advise you to remain available for further questioning.
May I see you for a minute, Mr. Butler?
Oh, come in, sir. What are you doing here?
Something has come up. I had to talk to you.
Wasn't very smart of you to come here.
I had to.
Well, what is it?
I've just come from the district attorney's office.
What are you doing there?
He sent for me.
What for?
A woman on the jury is charged that I was responsible for the acquittal.
So what?
She implied that I exerted pressure.
How would you know?
Well, that isn't the point, Mr. Butler. The fact remains the charge has been made. The DA said he's going to make a thorough investigation.
Okay, let him investigate.
But if those men I influenced should talk...
Well,
I have a reputation to think of, Mr. Butler. I'm a respected man.
Sure.
You've got to do something. You have to help me.
Look, Taylor, nothing's going to happen.
How do you know?
Just take my word for it.
I'm sorry, that isn't enough.
No?
No. I demand a guarantee of protection. The same protection you gave to Stanley.
You demand it, huh?
I most certainly do. Don't forget, you have as much to lose as I have.
How do you figure that?
Well, you were responsible for my swaying that jury.
So?
If the district attorney were to find that out, you'd be in this thing, too.
How do you figure the DA would find out about me?
Well,
You, Taylor?
Possibly. Yes.
That's very interesting. Who's that?
Hey, Stanley.
Come in. You get company. Remember him?
Yeah, the jury guy.
That's right. He's got trouble.
What's the matter?
The DA smells a fix.
I've just come from his office.
He's worried. Afraid I won't take care of him.
Why?
I don't know. He says if he falls, I fall too.
Oh, I didn't exactly say that.
That could mean a new trial, kid.
Hey, now, wait a
We
minute.
can fix that, though.
How?
Remember that favor you owed me?
Huh?
You promised me one on the house.
Oh. Well, what are you going to do about this, Mr. Butler?
I'm taking care of it.
How?
Show him, Stanley.
Right.
Yeah, it's good to be working again.
Excuse me, Chief.
Yes, Mr. Webb.
Here are typewritten copies of all the testimony we took.
Oh, fine. Put them right on the desk.
Yes, sir.
And that should be just about all the evidence we need against Mr. Taylor.
Yes.
And all three of the jurors said they were willing to repeat this testimony.